All right, we are live. Good evening, y'all. Good evening. I'm not used to saying good evening. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm used to being on here early. Excuse me. But I'm going to say good evening anyway. We are here live for, hold on, y'all. I have some feedback because I'm on my phone trying to share this broadcast out. So we are here again this evening for another book launch. Y'all know this is my favorite thing to do, one of them at least. So I'm really excited about this one. We are here to launch the new book by author G. Perl, and it's called A Guiding Light. So yeah, we're gonna get into it. First of all, my name is Angela M. Mitchell, and I am the marketing director here at Victorious You Press. And we are launching a book today. So today is launch day. What I'm going to ask you guys to do is I'm going to ask y'all to share this broadcast. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, because I'm putting this in the comments so that y'all can get this download. So I want y'all to share this broadcast out. Share. Pull up a chair, bring your friends, bring them into the group, and get in here so we can make it and get Miss G. Pearl, author G. Pearl, to the bestseller list, man. We got to download. So I'm going to bring her up here and introduce her, and we are going to get into it, y'all. Coming to the stage. Y'all know I love to say, come into the stage. Hello, beautiful. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am fine. I'm blessed to be here.
Yes, ma'am. It's launch day.
It is, it's lunch day. I'm trying to take it all in. I'm
I
excited
bet.
but anxious at the same time.
Yes, ma'am. Well, it finally got here, and it's a wonderful day. What a wonderful, wonderful day it is. I'm excited to get into this conversation with you. When we spoke yesterday, I got intrigued. I'm intrigued about your story, about your book, and so I'm gonna go ahead first, and I'm gonna introduce you to the world, to the people, right? And then
Wow.
I'm gonna actually let you, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
So, Nella McGaw, they coming, honey. They coming already. Let me make it so these comments can go up here. So I'm going to introduce you. This is right
Yes.
author G. Pearl, and we're talking here today about her new book, Guiding Light. So I'm going to let her get into it. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself, so we can get to this conversation.
Hi, everyone. I'm G. Pearl. I am an educator. I have taught school. I'm a retired teacher, but I taught for over 30 years. And I am now back out of retirement, teaching again to
Oh,
teach that love that we're missing so much of. My life is a miracle. And when you read my book, you will see how God has turned my life into what it is today. If it had not been for God, I don't know where I would be. But I have one daughter. I have two beautiful grandchildren. I wrote this book because of my mom. She's the one that was the driving force, but unfortunately, she passed in February of this year.
I'm
Uh,
sorry.
and I really wanted her to see the book. So the thing that hurts me the most is I didn't get it done before she passed away, but she knew. I am currently teaching, and I'm teaching the kids to write. Since I like to write, I'm teaching
Come
them.
on now. Come on now.
I have a husband that was an over the road driver who is not
Okay.
currently driving. He's
Okay.
retired, but I've been all over the United States, and most of my riding was in his truck in an 18 wheeler. And I
Wow.
would sit while I was riding on those long roads and riding, saw the mountains. There was so much encouragement. And I knew God was speaking to me because I had nothing else on my mind. And when you're not doing anything else, God can talk to you. So
Okay.
he did talk to me.
That's awesome. That is excellent. So now that we are here, first, before we get into the book, tell me how you got connected to Victoria Shoe Press.
Oh, that was amazing. I have went through publisher after publisher on my own trying to do that and checking out the prices and what I had to do. And I had even put a down payment, half of the down payment to one publisher when I got up and I prayed that particular morning. And I said,
Hmm.
Lord, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I have this money and I don't want to put it in the wrong hands. I really need your guidance on that, on
Yeah.
that. And as I looked up, I looked on my desk I had just read Trisha Payne's book,
Oh, wow.
and
Yeah.
I picked it up and I said, wait a minute, let me see who her publisher is because
Right.
she had been to the church that I attend. And I
Oh,
looked at it
really?
and I saw Victorious U Press. And I said, okay, let me email them. And the response was so quick. They emailed, Joan Randall emailed me back and says, I'm going to Zoom. And when we finally Zoomed, when I opened it up and saw her face and she saw mine, we just started laughing. I mean, we talked like we had been friends forever. She
Yeah.
walked me through the process of how to write a book because I told her I'm just calling for information. And this is how God works. I told her,
Hmm.
I want to go with your company and I'm going to call them and see if I can get that money back. It wasn't 10 minutes after I called them and explained I found another publisher. They put the money right back in my account. So that was amazing. So I know
Yeah.
God was
Yeah.
in it. And when Joan looked at me and we talked, we knew it was just something there. So I love being with the Victorious U Press.
And we love having you. That's awesome. And and it's exciting, especially when you are able to connect with somebody,
Hmm.
about your work. Your book is your baby. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? These are your words. This is your work. And so you want to make sure it's in the right hands. And I'm glad that we can do that for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's get into this book. How do you feel now that it's out here? It's out here in the world now. So tell us a little bit about the book. Tell us about it, and then yeah, let's do that first. Tell us a little bit about it. What is the story about? What are we reading about?
This book is about the day that my father passed. I lost my father and I was very close to my father. And all the people were here, all the relatives were here. And after the funeral, everyone comes back to the house. And it was so packed that I decided to leave that house. And I said, let me go over to a friend's house. And as I walked in their house, they said, how are you doing? What can we help you with? I said, the words that you should never say, just give me
Mhm.
anything to make me forget. That was
Mhm.
the day I started on drugs, crack cocaine,
Mhm.
and I was hooked from that first day. And that's what this book is about, how I went through all the trials, all the tribulations, everything that I went through to where God has brought me back today to who I am. And He blessed me. Going through that, I went on to get a master's degree and came back into the education system as a teacher once again.
Yeah, come on now. And I know that that is going to, that's what intrigued me. Because as you said yesterday, when we were talking, you
Hmm.
said nobody would have ever thought that
No,
this is the story that you would have to tell, right?
right.
But of course, there are so many people out here that need to hear that story. There's so many people out here that are affected by drugs. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And your story is definitely one, I would imagine, that would really help somebody, help them out and show them that there is life after that, right? And there's hope.
yes.
Yeah, I
And
like
that
that.
was one of the reasons that I wanted to write the story. And my mother encouraged me so much. She said, somebody needs to hear your story.
Yeah,
And as I look today, I've lost students, a parent, to killings and drugs, and it's hurting that so many that our children are dying.
yes,
They're
ma'am.
dying. I wrote a poem. I got up at 4 o'clock one morning called "Our Children Are Dying," and I
Mm,
knew. And my mother says you need to go back into the classroom and teach
yeah,
them how to love again. And that's what my endeavor is. If I can just help somebody that may be going through, because the drugs are much worse than they were when I was on them, and
yeah,
you're looking
yeah.
for a way out. I'm telling you, God was the way out. It was a miracle. It was a complete miracle in my life how He changed it.
Yes, ma'am. And you know what? You're absolutely right that our children. I can't. I would love to get a hold of that poem first of all, and I'm glad. And thank God that you were able to come through that and get into the school system because
Mhm,
the children do need that.
mhm.
So what? Well, you told me what inspired though. What was like your writing process like, and
My
what was maybe the most challenging part in there in that process?
The most challenging part is the part when I'm writing, and it hurt me so much, was when I was writing about fire, my chapter on fire. That was the most challenging part. in the story because I saw, when you come off the drugs and when your life has been changed, you don't really understand what you did and what you were going through. And
Yeah.
as I read over my story and I read that chapter, I could not help but cry because I had my daughter who was about 5 years old then that was caught
Hmm.
in that fire. And God just worked a miracle. He worked a miracle that she did not die in that fire because of us using drugs.
Yeah. Wow, wow, wow. So again, now that it's out here, you told me you were nervous. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I know you're going through some emotions today.
Yes,
I know you're going.
yes. I have my box of Kleenex right here.
Well, I'm gonna try not to make you cry. I'm gonna try not to make you cry.
Mhm.
So tell me, who do you think this book is for? Who do you think will, your message will resonate most with?
I think it would resonate with the people that are now currently on drugs and that might be working because I was teaching. I was
Yeah.
teaching doing these drugs and I knew my life was not the way it was supposed to be. I
Right.
knew I was going downhill, but there was nothing I could do about it. And I was
Right.
praying silently to myself, God, I got to get out of this. I got to get out of this, but I just didn't know how. And
Yeah.
that was the challenging part too is what am I going to do? But see, God has a plan.
Come on
And
now.
my boss that day came to me and says, you know what? You didn't recertify to teach. So you can either quit and take
Hmm.
what money you have left with you from your contract, or you can work with no money, with no pay. So, and I
Mm.
knew my life was bad. And instead of me telling him there's something wrong with me, and I never told anyone, they don't even
Right.
know. So, if you're listening today, friends, this is my story.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
So,
ma'am.
I had sense enough to know. Let me just quit and try to get a handle on this life. I
Yeah.
couldn't do it myself, but that's what I tried to do. And
Right.
that's what really got to me the most is I was teaching kids while this was going on. And there's
Yeah.
so many that may be going through that same thing. It's like undercover. I call it undercover. And you don't know. And people don't know what teachers go through. We have so many personalities out there in the classroom
Yeah.
that will challenge you to a point to make you want to do things, but God had a purpose for you, and He had one for me
Yes,
that
ma'am.
I had my way out to get out of it. So instead of getting caught, look how He just planned it that I left without anyone knowing, and
Yeah.
got out of that before anybody found out. I probably would have lost my job if they had found out.
Right.
But God
Right.
had a plan.
And that's oftentimes, when you in it, of course you don't think of that, you know what I mean, you don't think that you're going to get out of it. So I agree, there's somebody somewhere
Mhm.
that may be watching, you know what I mean, or has, a family member that
Yes,
may need, because we have family members and a lot of times we don't want to talk about that, we want to sweep it under the rug, you
yes,
know what I mean, and not accept it when it's happening all around us. So I'm sure there's somebody watching that may have a family member, a child, a spouse, a cousin, a friend, you know what I
yes,
mean? Somebody that is dealing with this very same thing. So hopefully they will go and download,
yes.
click that link in these comments and download this ebook, and read this story. Read this powerful, powerful story. And I know it's powerful. I
It,
can't, I got
it
my
is.
copy. So I
It
wanted to
is.
wait. I got my copy. I wanted to wait till the day, but I'm definitely going to read it. Take the time to read it. But I know it's a powerful story, and I know there are many, many people, that need this,
Yes.
that need this healing. I would imagine that this writing was a healing for you. You said you had been writing for many years, so I would imagine that through that time, that rough time in your life, that it helped you, right?
Well, that's when I really started writing. I was not teaching and I was sitting after getting off the drugs. I had went and got myself together and didn't really have anything to do. And I said, now what do I do? Because after school, that's where I would go to the drug house or everything like that. And
Right.
so I started journaling just so that I wouldn't think about because even though I was off the drugs. It's
Mm-hmm.
still there. You can
Mm-hmm.
get
Mm-hmm.
hooked back anytime. Anytime. It just takes one time. And I
Right.
would pray every day, Lord, please don't let me start up again. And there were
Yeah.
so many things where I say it's the devil that tries to come in and pull you back in it. But
Mm-hmm.
I had to fight it. I had to really fight it. My way of fighting it was let me write. And I began to write. And I began to write children's stories because I like children.
Yeah.
Then Joan says, well, why don't you write your memoir? Write about your life first. And that's what I did. And as I wrote, it came into fruition as a book. I was
Yeah.
just writing just to be writing. So it was my way of dealing with. Didn't want to go back out there on the drugs things. I wouldn't hang around anybody. I stayed at
Mm-hmm.
home. I said, I've
Mm-hmm.
been out there, done that. I didn't mind staying at home, being looking at TV, doing whatever I had to do.
You're right.
I,
To stay out that mess.
I had to
Right.
guard myself and just
Yeah.
stay in. And
Yeah.
writing was my outlet.
And a lot of times, man, that's what you have. You know
Mm,
what I mean? That and God,
yes.
right? That and God.
Mhm.
And so, as a well, yeah, as a new author, you know what I mean. Were there any like twists or challenges when you were writing the book though? Like, because I know when you're writing and you're sharing, you're bringing up memories. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
they're not all good memories. So, were there any challenges in that?
Yes. Yes, because the biggest challenge I had was my brother-in-law and sister would go to the meeting for people that were coming off the drugs, the recovery. That's what it was.
Hmm.
Recovery.
Hmm.
And they invited me to it. I hadn't been to a recovery. God was my recovery. I
Yes, ma'am.
hadn't ever been to a recovery, but they invited me to come and they asked me to tell my story. I was afraid. I did not want to go. I said, "No, I don't want to do that."
Yeah.
Uh, but they kept telling me, and I prayed about it, and I said, "Okay, maybe I need to tell this story." I was
Right.
scared as I don't know what. You all would not believe it. I was shaking in my shoes,
Yeah.
and what I didn't know is that when I got there and saw all the people, and then they called on me to tell my story, and I hadn't looked up because I felt
Right.
ashamed. So I was looking
Right.
down, just sitting there thinking about what I was going to say. And when I looked up to tell my story, I looked straight into my mother's face. Oh, you talking about the most hurting, the most shameful thing was, oh my God, my mother's going to find out what happened. She never knew what happened, but she always said, I'm praying for you. I'm
Yeah.
praying for you. I'm not going to stop praying for you. But she didn't know the story. She knew I was on drugs, but she didn't know what happened, how it happened, or anything.
Yeah.
I had to tell my story that day, and I accused my sister and my brother. Y'all set me up. Y'all set me up. I didn't know my mother was going to be there. I probably wouldn't have done it because I didn't want my mother to know. I knew it would hurt her heart
Yeah.
very bad.
Yeah.
But that was the most hurting, shameful part. But I found out, I made a discovery. When I told my story, a weight
Mhm.
lifted off of me.
Mm.
Now, every time I tell my story, it's like something comes over me, and I can tell people it does not hurt. I don't feel shame. I
Yeah.
know that I'm helping somebody. And I
Yeah.
told my mother before I passed, every time I tell the story, I become stronger in getting off those drugs. I mean, it's like it's building a shield around me every
Yes.
time I tell the story. So it's made me stronger in telling others my story and trying to reach others to do what I did or find a way that you can get the help because there's help out there.
Yeah.
My help was God. God, I'm a believer. My father was a minister, so I knew how to pray. And my mother told me, "Don't forget to pray." She
Yes,
said,
ma'am.
Pray like you're talking to God, like you are talking in a conversation, like I'm talking to you, Angela." She
Yeah.
said, "Pray and talk to Him and tell Him and ask Him for help." And I did. That's what I
Yeah.
honestly did.
And that's, I mean, that's what's important. And as you said, you use God as your help. And of course, there is help out there. And I think those that in conjunction, you know what I
Mm.
mean? Those two things go together to help you get through those challenging times. I can't imagine. You know what I mean? I can't imagine, but I'm glad. Now, how long has it been? Has it been many years or?
Oh, it's been many years. I never thought it would be many years coming off
Yeah,
of those drugs. It was so hard. And it's hard. You go year by year and you think you can't do it, but you can. And then it's
yeah,
brought back into your face, or somebody will give it to you. And you know those drug people, they will give it to you. They know when you get paid. So they
hmm,
would bring it to me, and they would know the next day I'm going to spend my money because they knew when I got paid. So they would
yeah,
give it to me free first,
yeah,
and it would just keep me hanging out there. But once I got off of it, I had to watch the people that I hung around. Matter of fact, I got up and I moved. I
yeah,
put all of my furniture outside, sold it for $1, and I moved out of town just so
yeah,
that I could get away from the people that I hung around. But once I came off of it and uh, joined my cousin was a big help. She let me stay with her, and it was amazing how I got to stay with her. My brothers, my brothers
yeah.
put me out of the house one night and told me, "You got to go and take your daughter with you." And it
Mm,
was at night, and I was
hmm,
standing outside, and I remember standing outside, and my uncle came along, and he always pinched my jaws and said, "Hey, Niecy, how you doing?" And
yeah,
this time I said, I'm not doing good. And he
yeah,
said the words that will save my life. He says, when you think you don't have a way out, when you think there's no way, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's why
hmm,
I used the word light in my title. It was used many times. And I
yeah.
went to my twin, I have a twin. He came along
Okay.
at that time and he says, "Well, you can come and stay with me." So I went with him. And while I was sitting there at his house and I was crying on the inside, no, nobody knew, nobody knew. And I was just
Right.
crying on the inside and I was too full to talk, and the phone rung. Other people were there, but the phone rung, and he says, "Hey, Pearl," he said, "It's for you." And I wanted to say I don't want to talk to anybody because I was praying on the inside, and my prayer was, "Lord, I need to be somewhere where nobody smokes, nobody drinks, nobody parties, where they go to
Hmm.
church. I need somebody. I need to be somewhere like that." The phone rung,
Yeah,
and my
yeah,
brother said, "Hey, it's your cousin Michelle." And I said, "Oh, I cannot not talk to Michelle."
yeah.
And another miracle. This is why I said God worked a miracle. I answered the phone. She says, "Hey, Pearl, I don't know what's going on in your life, but," she says, "I just got this word in my mind that said you can come and stay with me for as long as you like."
Mm,
Oh, tears started rolling down my face. I
mm,
started
mm,
crying.
mm.
My brother asked me what was wrong.
Yeah,
Just like that, I said it in my mind. God knows your thoughts. And I
that's right.
said it in my mind, and
Yes,
the
ma'am.
phone rung just like that.
Yeah.
That was a pivoting moment in my life.
You answered one of my questions. Because I was going to ask you,
Yeah.
a significant event or a pivotal moment.
Yes.
And wow,
And it
wow,
was hard.
wow.
It wasn't easy because I was going through withdrawals,
Yeah,
but she
yeah,
wasn't doing anything. She was going back to school. She would
yeah.
study and she would go to church. She would go to church on Saturday because she would ask me to
Hmm.
go to church. I told her, "Who goes to church on Saturday?
Well, no,
I don't go to church on Saturday." But she would read. And while she was reading one day, I
yeah.
passed by there. She would let me, she was that type of person that she would let me. She knew I smoked cigarettes and she would let me go down in her basement to smoke a
Hmm.
cigarette.
Hmm.
Because she knew I was trying to get off of everything. And
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
taken my cigarettes and I said, as I passed her table, "You have a book I could read?" And she says, "Yeah." She handed me this book. And
Okay.
when I got the book on my way down the stairs, I was looking at it and I went, "Oh man, this is a book about people getting old." It was called The Desire of Ages. So I'm thinking this
Okay.
is about people getting old. When I got
Right.
downstairs and sat on the couch getting ready to read with my cigarette in my hand, and I looked and I saw Jesus on the cover. I hurry up and put out the cigarette like I can't read the book while I'm looking at Jesus. And I put that cigarette out and began to read that book. That was the moment. As I was
Yeah.
reading, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. And I got to a part. where it said something about prove me. And I dropped on my knees and I said, God, I need you to prove to me that you can take the drugs, the drink, the party, and you can take all of this away. I need it all taken away at once. I need you to prove to me that you can do that. And I
Yeah.
got up, had 4 cigarettes left, threw them in the trash. I have never picked up a cigarette, never smoked, drank, or done anything since that day. He
Come
proved to
on.
me.
Come on.
Yes.
Come
Uh,
on now.
Another miracle.
That
Yes.
is. And you can do all things,
Mm,
right? You can do
yes.
all
Through
things.
Christ, which strengthens me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I would love, if possible, if you could read us maybe a snippet from
Okay.
your book, if you could do that, because I want to be nosy, and I know the people want to be nosy with me.
Okay.
And
I
while y'all
will.
being nosy, like, wait, let me just say this real quick. Oh, wait a minute. Rabrita Rose said, "We are so proud of you, Pearl. Congrats. I love you much." Matt Smith said, "Congrats on the book, and I hope it does great." And we do, right? We do.
Oh,
We wish you the
yes.
best, of course, with this. So I wanted to say that. But I also want to tell everyone that's watching, please, please, please head over to Amazon, click the link, download, 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 tell your friends, tell a neighbor, pull on up and join us for the, and just join us and share and download. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn it back over to you and just let the people hear just a little bit from the book.
Okay. Thank you. And I thank all of you for your comments. And I ask for your prayers because this is still a journey that I'm
Yeah.
on.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going to read the part called Fire. That was the one that I had my 5-year-old daughter.
Okay.
Okay. Even though I was teaching, I was still using drugs. This isn't something I am proud of, and I felt disappointed and ashamed of myself. I went to work every day acting as if nothing was wrong. I did my job, but my heart was not in it. I constantly told myself, you must stop. You must quit. But the urge was so strong that I couldn't. Maybe I didn't want to, but I knew that I was in too far to quit on my own and needed God to intercede on my behalf. One day, after my friend Maddie and I got home from work, we helped the kids get started on their homework. We decided to smoke before starting dinner and told them, after you finish your work, you may watch TV until dinner's ready. Once you start to smoke crack cocaine, it's common to forget everything else and time flies. You usually don't have an appetite. A group of us were smoking and having fun, joking, and after a while decided we should stop and get dinner ready for the kids. We put all the drugs and the drug paraphernalia away, being careful to put out any pipes that were burning out or smoking, and gathered in the kitchen. Suddenly, Maddie screamed, "Oh, the house is on fire! The house is on fire!" I turned into the hallway and saw nothing but thick smoke. I gasped in disbelief when I saw a wisp of fire coming from the room where we smoked. We immediately jumped into action, frantic to get everyone out of the house. Someone called the fire station, and we stood outside in shock, staring at the house beginning to fill with flames. As we checked to see if everyone was safe, I didn't see my daughter. My heart skipped a beat, and I screamed, "Where's Keisha?" I faintly remember seeing her in the bed taking a nap. "She's in the house. She's in the house." And I took off running. Someone grabbed my arm to stop me. Like a wild animal, I struggled to break free. "No, let me go. Keisha's in the house." With what seemed like superhuman strength, I yanked my arm away and began to bolt towards the house. The fire was spreading, and all you could see was thick smoke turning from white to black. Where
Mhm.
were the firemen? I could faintly hear, "You can't go in there. It's too dangerous." All I could think about was my baby. Massive smoke poured out the door. Remembering smoke rises, I immediately dropped to my knees and began to crawl into it, coughing and fighting the painful stinging in my eyes from the smoke. "Keisha, mommy's coming." I aggressively crawled toward her room, nearly blinded and coughing constantly from the smoke. I fervently prayed, "Lord, please, please don't let her die. I'm so sorry for my sinful behavior. Please forgive me." At that moment, I saw a shadowy figure standing by the bed, choking and crying, "Mommy, mommy." I grabbed her tiny, outstretched arms and pulled her down to the ground. "Stay close to mommy. We've got to crawl out of here." fast. I tightly held her trembling hand as we crawled toward where I thought the front door was. The smoke was blinding, and I could feel the intense heat from the flames near us. Suddenly, a sliver of light, there's that word light, appeared through the dense smoke. It was the door. I could hear sirens welling, and hope filled me as I knew the firemen were on the way. Keisha and I crawled faster, and as we burst out the door coughing, I picked her up and ran as fast as I could toward the street. I held my beautiful daughter close to my heart, kissing her and comforting her tears with, "You're safe now, baby. Mommy's got you." The house was now engulfed in flames, and my
Mm.
friends and I stared in disbelief as we watched the firemen try to save what was left of the house we had just been laughing and partying in. Our lives were saved, but all I could think about was that sliver of light. God had spared me again.
Mm.
What was I waiting for to turn my life around?
Woo! Goodness
Yes,
gracious.
and that's the
Oh,
one that hurt the most. I could have
mm,
lost her in that fire, and I mean, it was just a part, and it looked like God was saying, "I'm giving you a chance." I mean, I've been through death so many times. I should have been dead, but like I said, what was I waiting for to turn my life around? Because guess what? I didn't stop smoking then either.
mm, mm.
Ah,
Listen, you got me. As I was listening, man, I heard, the pain in your voice. I heard the, oh my goodness. But I also heard the joy
yeah,
because you overcame. You know what I mean? Because you made it past there.
yes,
Um, man, that is, as who was someone in the comments says, such a Patty. Patty said, such a dramatic moment, and it
yeah.
is. Keisha Crosby, is that your baby?
That's my daughter.
It's
That's
your
her.
baby.
That's
She said,
her.
"We are so very proud of you, mommy, grandma. We love you."
Oh,
And
thank
this is
you.
her comment here, but it says Facebook user, so we couldn't see it.
Hmm.
And we are so glad, Keisha, that you in these comments that you hear,
Yes, yes,
as you said, but God, you were doing what you were doing. But
yes.
you
And
know what
it's
I mean?
amazing. I asked her, did she remember any of the things that were happening? And
Yeah,
she says, no, I don't remember. She doesn't remember anything. She was so young at the time, but
yeah,
we went through some hard times, and my sister had to take her one time and keep her for me. And my family was there, even though even though they didn't believe I was going to make it. I know I've heard what they said that. Because when people are on drugs and they're coming off, they look at you and talk about, "Oh, she ain't gonna make it. She ain't
she
gonna."
ain't gonna do nothing.
So when I
Uh-huh.
heard that, that was another thing I told God. I said, God, it's not going to help me telling people I don't use drugs anymore. I don't do that anymore. So I want to be a living example. I just want them to see that you changed my life. And I remember people watching me, and I would smile on the inside because I knew God was changing my life. He was proving to everyone that when he does something, oh my goodness,
Come on
when
now.
he does it where you won't go back.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, let me tell you something. I'm so proud and I thank you, sister, for sharing your story. I'm so glad that you sitting here, to be able to tell this testimony. You know what I
Yes,
mean? And I'm so honored that I get to be the person to help you do that. You know what I
yes,
mean? It's like we said, it's somebody out here. It's somebody out here. Um, that is looking for what you have. There's somebody
yes.
out there that your story. It's a lot of somebodies.
It's
You
a
hear me? It's a
lot
lot
of
of
somebody.
somebody's
Yes.
out.
And I
Um,
prayed this morning, Lord, please, please help let my testimony help somebody that may be on the verge. They're trying to stop and don't know how to stop. God, just talk to God. He can do it.
mm, listen, and I want to hear. Now, I want to hear more. I
Yes.
can't wait to dig into this book, man. I can't even ask you like I don't want to ask the rest because we don't want to give too much away in this book. But y'all, Y'all got to go download this book. Y'all have
Yes.
to go download this book.
It will keep you spellbound. That's just one chapter. And it's amazing. I have my brother, my youngest brother, that used to come and visit, and he would look at all my papers and write, and he says, "You should write a book." And I'm going,
Yeah.
"Nah." And he told me, "You should write a book." So I'm proud to tell him, and I'm getting him a copy. I'm getting him an autographed copy and taking it to him because he was the one that stayed on me. You should write a book.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm so glad you did. I'm glad he stayed on you.
Yes.
I'm
Yes,
so glad.
and if it wasn't for Patty, Patty is was my editor. If it wasn't for her,
Yes.
I mean, we had to cry and talk together. She would cry, I would cry, but she's the one that helped me write this book and put it in the right words. I couldn't have done it with her. And light comes again. She was out walking one morning, and as she was walking and we were talking, she texted me and said, "This is what I'm seeing while I'm walking." And it was the light. There was the light again.
Mm,
And if you look at the cover of the book, that's what that cover depicts, her walking one morning and she saw that light. So I wanted that cover for my book. But I tell you, she's the one that helped me. We laughed and cried together, but she helped me with this book. I couldn't have done it with her, especially after I lost my mom.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
hard. It was very hard to finish the book, but she stayed on me.
I'm glad. First of all, shout out to Patty. She's in the comments. That's her.
Yeah.
That said, I'm so proud of what you've done with your life. Y'all gonna have Patty. You about to have Patty over here crying. Y'all know Patty will cry. So
Yes.
shout out to Patty Lauder Young, one of the
Thank
editors
you,
here at
Patty.
Victoria Shoe Press. She is an excellent, excellent editor.
Yes,
She
she
is
is.
definitely an excellent editor, and she can definitely bring your words
Yes.
to life. She can do
Yes,
that.
she can.
So she said, "You're bringing tears to my eyes, Glenda." You know,
And
um,
I know, and but the word light, there were so many people that brought the word light to me. I was trying to think of a title for the book, and I saw a friend and she asked me, "What's the title of your book?" I said, "I don't have a title." She says, "Well," she says, "you're a guiding light." She says, "You've taught children, you guided them all your life, you help others, you've been a light." Called it a guiding light. And that was from a lady named Moses. We called her Moses. She gave
wow,
me the title for my book. And it's been the right title because as I was reading, you heard me say, "There's the light again."
there's the light again.
All throughout the book, there's a light. And that light is God. God is that light.
Mm. This I've done a lot of book launches here, and this is the second one. And I'm not going to say that I'm not touched, by every other author and every other story, but this is the second one that has just sent chills
Mm.
down my spine, man.
Wait till you
It's
read the rest of it.
right. It's just such an amazing testimony, and I say that because it's such an amazing testimony to the goodness of the Most High.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just an amazing testimony
Yes.
to what can happen when you have faith and when you trust, and when you take the steps. Right?
Right.
You
And my mother said, there's a scripture in the Bible says we are saved by our testimonies. And she said we need to testify more. And since we don't have the testimony services anymore, I put
Yeah.
my testimony into a book. So those of you that go to church, I want to testify. I'm testifying in this book.
Come on.
I am testifying in this book.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. How has the support of your family, your friends, you know what I mean? When we heard about Patty in the writing community, how
Mhm.
has that support, or lack thereof, either way, contributed to your writing and to this book and getting this book out there?
Well, at first, I think my family didn't really believe it. I told them I was writing. Yeah, okay. But I can tell you this, that every time they came over to the house, I'm sitting in front of my computer and I'm writing. The one person that had the most faith in me was my granddaughter. My
Yeah.
granddaughter would come and sit in the chair next to me. And come to find out, she's a writer too, and she doesn't even know it. She writes poetry,
Hmm.
and she would write and then tell me what she had written. But then I think they started to send. I remember as I was going through my mother's funeral, and I heard them say, "Where is she?" And they said, "She's in there, she's writing." And I heard my daughter say that's where she always is. She's always writing. So it was like that, but once they saw that I was really serious, they gave me my space. I had to put a do not disturb sign on the door for my
I
house
know that's right. Leave me alone. I'm busy. I'm
because he
working
was
up in
coming
here.
all the time. And but I'm telling you, the people that have helped me everywhere I went, people have encouraged me when I told them I'm writing a book. And it's just my kids are upset with me at school because they thought it was a book for them. So they said, "We wanted to buy the book," and I said, "No, baby, I'm sorry, it's not
Not
for
for
the
you
children."
today, not this time,
But
right?
they, you know what they said? We're going to tell our parents to buy it and read it to us.
Oh Lord.
And I'm going, oh no, what have I started here? But everybody has helped me along the way. They've given me ideas. My mother was the most um, one that I really respect because she stayed on me. She encouraged me, write your book, tell your
Yeah,
story. And then when I went to Connecticut one year, and this was a part where I was shamed. I didn't tell anybody I was shamed, but I'm sure
mhm,
they knew it because everybody by that time in my family knew that I had been on drugs.
right.
And I hadn't been to Connecticut. Most of my mother's family live in Connecticut. So I could just imagine in my head what they were saying, I thought. But my uncle, who's passed away, Uncle Eddie, my mother's
Okay.
brother, he came and sat down. I was sitting by myself, and he came and sat down with me, and he says, "You know what?" He says, "We never thought you would make it." He says,
Mm,
"But I'm so proud of you. You have
mhm.
made it." But he did. He says, "We didn't know what was going to happen." He says, "But your mother says there is nothing too hard for God."
Come on now.
She stayed on her knees and prayed for me. When they said somebody prayed for me, I had some prayer warriors backing me up that was
Yeah,
praying. So the prayers of a righteous, they are prayers that will keep you, that will hold you. And when you're
yes.
thinking no one is praying, somebody's praying. Those grandparents, we don't pray like we used to, but our grandparents and parents and great grandparents, they were praying
Yeah.
for us, and that's why we are here today.
Come on now. Come on now. Oh man, tell me, because first time new author, do you have any advice? Because you said you were afraid to share your story.
Hmm.
At first, you were ashamed. You know what I
Yes,
mean? Do you have any advice for a first time author that wants to share their story? Or maybe they haven't even become an author, but they want to share their story, but they're afraid of the backlash, or they're ashamed, or you know what I mean? What do you
yes.
have to say to them? What advice do you have for that?
I would say if you have a story and you want to tell it, even though you're ashamed, tell your story. Write it in a journal. Write it and read it. I would write it and read, and I would wake up, read, crying every day. Every time I read over what I write, it was just like
Yeah.
a cleansing. But like I said, when you tell your story, it cleanses you out, it will bring it out. So you have to keep writing. The naysayers, they're going to be naysayers all the time. Think about Jesus. They talked about him all the time, all
Yeah.
the time. But he went on. And that's what we got to do. We have to block that out. And I know there may be people that don't want to hear my story today, but it's okay.
That's
If
right.
Jesus can make it through that, I can too. But even
Yes.
though there are people that don't want to hear it, there's somebody out there that wants to hear your story. And Joan told me that. Joan Randall says, I told her, I said, I'm scared to tell my story. I'm scared for it to get out. She says, but somebody needs to hear your story. That very
Mhm.
same day, I went to J.C. Penney's to get my mother some things for her bed. And as I was there, how I got on the conversation, it has to be God because I would come up with
Mhm.
the conversation all
Mhm.
the time. The cashier was asking me, and I told her, I said, I'm writing a book. I said, I'm a retired teacher, but I have a book coming out. So she
Okay.
asked me, she says, well, what is your book about? And I told her the beginning of the book about my father dying and how I got hooked on crack cocaine. She stopped what she was doing. She leaned in close and she says, that's the same thing that happened to me. I need to
Mm.
hear your story. Give me the name of your book so that I
Mm.
can get your book. She said the very same thing happened to me. So that was a confirmation at what Joan had said that morning. Somebody needs to hear your story.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
that's what I want to tell you all. If you're in that predicament, somebody needs to hear your story. It's going to help somebody. You have to not worry about what people are going to say. Because I was nervous today. I said, oh Lord, people are going to find my story. They're going to hear me tell my story. I
Yeah.
wonder how they're going to look at me tomorrow when I go to work, or how they're going to look at me again when they see me. But you know what? I don't care because I
That's
made
good.
it. Everybody doesn't make it. I have friends that died right there in
Mm,
front of me. I had friends that
mm,
almost died right there in front of me. And the
right.
ones that are dead didn't make it. And I'm, by the help of God, I made it. I'm here
That's
to
good.
stand today to tell my story, to help
That's good.
you, somebody out there that needs this story.
And whatever part of your story, whatever that part was, whatever you didn't do, the life that you were living, it's part of who you are. And
Yes.
it's what brought you to where you are. You know
Mm,
what I mean? That's a part of that journey. And
yes.
so, who cares? Like you said, who cares what other people think and how they view you?
Yes.
You have done something that is pleasing in the eyes of God, and that's really the most important thing there, right?
Yes.
So what's next for you? What do you got on the horizon? Now do I see some other books coming up, or what you
I
got
got I got to help my kids. My kids are waiting on a children's story, and
going?
that's what I wanted. I said, "Oh, I'm gonna be a children's author." So the kids,
Yeah.
because I was always telling stories, and my kids today tell me, "Can you tell us a story?" They love to hear my stories. So I had promised my kids. I said, "I'm working on a children's book, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to do that." But then I thought about I would like to write a book for teachers. The teachers are going through so much with
Mm,
kids,
mm, mm, mm.
and you have kids that I have kids that have come back. I have one, and if I have time to tell it, one student, I was sitting one night, I was tired. I was real tired because
Mhm,
kids can wear you out. The time that
mhm.
I'm teaching, I'm not tired at all. But the
Right.
minute I get home and sit down, that tiredness comes down. And so I was sitting there, and it was 9 o'clock, and the phone rang. And I wasn't going to pick it up. I looked at it like, I don't know this number. Somebody from
Mhm.
Louisiana. I don't know who this is. And I picked it up and answered it. And she says, Miss Sales? And I said, yes. She says, did you teach third grade? I said, yes. She says, you were my third grade teacher. And I
Wow.
said, "Really?" I said, "Well, honey, what's your name?" And she told me her name. And it shocked me because this was a child in third grade that dressed immaculately, ruffled socks, dress shoes, pretty ruffled
Mhm.
dress, hair comb. And she asked to go to the restroom one day. And I said, "Did you use it when I took you?" Because I don't like sending them by themselves. She said,
Right.
I said, "Well, no, you can't go." Well, when I said that, she proceeded to let it out on the floor, and I thought this child would hate me for the rest of my life.
Right.
But after I talked to her parents and told them what happened, they agreed that I was in the right, that she should have did that. But this was the little girl, and she said, "Guess what?" I said, "What?" She says, "I'm a teacher." She said, "Guess what? I teach third grade. Guess what? I teach just like you.
Come on
Guess
now.
what?" She went on and on. "I make them write neat, just like you made us write." I mean, tears started streaming down. The kids will come back. Even the worst ones will come back. I've had the worst
Mhm.
ones, big burly guys talking about, "Are you Miss Bill?" They would come in asking me. It just scared me. They scare me because
Yeah.
they're big and grown, and I don't know who they are. And they tell me, "You were my third grade teacher. You were my favorite teacher." So the kids will come back.
They
Teachers have a hard
definitely
job,
will.
and we don't get the respect that we need. So I want to write an encouragement book for them. I, I'm thinking about calling it "They Will Come Back" because
I
they've all
love that.
come back. So I'm working
Yeah.
on two different types of books.
Yeah, but you know what? That's all right. That's all right. You can write both, and you are absolutely right. Everybody remembers their favorite teacher. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I reconnected with my teacher, my favorite. She was like my most favorite teacher out of my whole school career.
Mhm.
And I hadn't seen her since I was 13 years old. And I reconnected with her I reconnected on Facebook, many, many years ago. But I got to see her in person again about 3, 4 years ago. And it was just like the best, you know what I mean? It was
Yes.
the best. She remembered me. And of course,
Hmm.
like I said, we had connected on Facebook, but it was just awesome. And so people, I believe, like you said, teachers don't get the recognition that
Hmm.
they deserve. You are teaching the children, you're teaching a nation, the future. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The next generation,
A
right?
future.
So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So I can't wait for these new books. I can't wait to get my hands on these new books. But of course, I can't wait for the one we hear launching. So
Yes.
I can so I can take a minute to read it a little bit later. Y'all got to go and download this book.
Yes.
This
Tell
is an
everybody.
Yes, tell everybody, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell whoever you can tell to come on out and download this book. This book is going to change somebody's life.
Yes.
This book is going to change somebody's life. So,
And it's
do
a
you
great,
have like? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to ask if
I
you
was
had
just going to say,
anything.
it's a great read. It's not a long book, and you can read it quickly, but it will keep you spellbound. I like reading. If you heard
Yeah,
how I read, I love
I
reading.
love it. I want you to read me. That's why the kids like your stories.
Yes. So read the book. It is a very good book, and give it to somebody. Gift it if you don't want to keep it to somebody that will need it.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's about almost time for us to wrap up here. So, is there anything else, that you want to say before we wrap up?
I'd like to thank Joan, who she stayed in my corner. I mean, she's an awesome person.
Yeah.
The way that she took me through the whole process. So if you're looking uh, for a publisher or someone to help you write a book, call Joan. I'm telling you, she's awesome. She took me through the process where it wasn't pushing on me. She explained what's going to happen. Very good. So if anybody's writing a book and you're looking for a publisher, I know the person. Her name is Joan Randall,
Going over
Victorious You Press,
here.
and she will help you through the process. She's awesome. Very good. And then
Well,
you might get Patty as your editor. Patty is my editor, yes. And of course, you
and I'm gonna do your book launch.
yes,
I'm gonna
that's
launch your
what I'm
book.
getting ready to say. And Angela does the book launch. You all got to come in and get with this publisher. It's a company that's rising, that's already there. They're great. So if you're looking for a good publisher, Victorious U Press.
Well, thank you for that plug. Thank you for that shout out. We love what we do here, and just the joy, that we get from authors like you. You know what I mean? That are living out their dreams. You know what I'm saying? And this is just an amazing time for you. I am so proud. Again, I can't wait to read your story. I can't wait to connect with you later at the retreat.
Yes.
Yeah, so this has been a really great interview, man. A really great
Thank
one.
you. I
I want
appreciate
to
it.
say again, y'all, download this book. Go on over to Amazon. The link is in the comments. Download. Also, tell them how they can get in touch with you.
Uh,
How
you
can they
can
reach you?
You can get in touch with me. I have a page. I don't know if we call it a website. Writer
Mhm.
G Pearl.
Yes, her
Um,
website.
I have that, and I will send out that link again. I've sent it. It's on my Facebook page. You can come
Okay.
to my Facebook page, and my email is glbill@gmail.com. GLBILLBEAL @gmail.com. And anytime you want to get in touch, if you want me to get in touch with Joan or Angela or Patty or any of them in Victorious U Press, I would be glad to get you in contact with them. And please pray for me and keep writing. Don't give up. I didn't
Yes.
think I was a writer. I did not think I was a writer. But
Yes.
with their help, I am an author, you all.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
can't believe it. I'm an author.
Well, we claiming best selling, baby. You are a best selling author. We claiming it now. We claim.
Yes. Yes, it
Yes.
is.
Again, you guys, this has been a really, really great conversation, a really great launch. I cannot wait. to get into this book. I hope you guys will go and download it and, bless somebody else. Like she said, if you don't want it for yourself, bless someone else with this book. Somebody needs this story. And
Mhm.
if that person is you, reach out, get the
Yes.
book and reach out.
And get the ebook. Get those ebooks. They're $2.99. The regular book is $15.99, but the ebook is $2.99. And
Yeah.
for all of my pre-order people out there, the books are coming. I will autograph them for you, and then I will get them mailed out to you. But
Yes,
that won't
ma'am.
be till October, so don't look for it next week.
Don't be looking now. Don't be looking now. They coming though. They coming. Well, there we go. And who is that in the comments? I'm gonna read a couple of more comments. Glenda, and this is Patty. Patty blowing your comments up, girl. She blowing them up. She
I
blowing
love
them
Patty.
up. Patty said, "You are bringing me to tears. You're leaving a powerful legacy, and you are. You absolutely are." Because your story is going to be here long after you're gone. So you are leaving a legacy, for generations to come. And
Yes.
she said, I love working with Joan and Angie of Victorious Shoe Press, and we love working with you too. And
Yeah.
so this has been, right, another amazing book launch. We are so thankful that you joined us. If you're catching the replay, you still have time to download. Don't stop when we stop, right?
Yes.
Don't
Right.
stop when we get off. Keep going, download, and reach out, hit the
Please.
website, go to her Facebook page and support. And so again, until next time, I love to say that, y'all. Y'all know I love to say it at the end.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
until next time, and thank you so very much. And it has been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right,
Thank
y'all. We out of
everybody.
here.
Bye bye.